What's going on, my people? You already know who it is. It's your boy Daquan, and we want to welcome you to another episode of Kingdom Corner Podcast. We talk about God, family, and other stuff. Man, I'm so excited for today's episode. Thank you guys so much for coming in.
Thank
You
you.
already know who it is. It's for me and for Sis on the other side. Sis, say what's up to the people.
Hi, beautiful
She's so
people.
she's so extra.
Hi, beautiful people.
Listen.
Sunshine in the city.
Listen, it's
Okay.
been a little bit, so we apologize for not dropping all of the episodes like we were supposed to repeatedly. But I tell you, the last 12 days, your boy ain't had a break. This is probably the
Life and
first
life
break I've
and
had, and life just be life, and it was life in me. But nothing
golden.
terrible, absolutely nothing out of the ordinary. It's just trying to find time to make sure that we brought you our energy, our normal
Yes.
selves, brought you the best podcast
Yes.
an episode ever, so that way we're not out here looking tired and
Right.
greasy
Bags
and
under the
sloppy,
eyes, black eyes, and be
doing all
like,
kinds of crazy
hey,
stuff.
y'all.
Don't nobody want that. Don't nobody want that. So again,
Nah.
welcome to Kingdom Corner Podcast. We
Welcome.
appreciate you guys. Definitely appreciate all the support. So continue to stay with us. Be patient with us. Give us that grace, man. I promise you, we're going to come in and we're going to do
Great.
our best to give you the content that you're looking for. So
Yes.
we got a really good episode, I think, for today. Me and Sis have been in contact on a few things, and this was one of the ones that showed up, and I was like, okay, let's go ahead and jump in on this topic. But before I do, I gotta give a shout out to Sis, owner and founder of Kingdom Clothes, founder of Kingdom Corner Podcast. So just want to give her her flowers. Without her, these things would not be possible. So, hooray! Little how do you do it? The poetry clap. Get you one of these.
Two snaps in a
Snap
swirl.
snaps.
All right, it's
But
snap, snap, snap.
love it, love it, love it, love it, love it. So today,
Today.
today, what we're going to be talking about, we're going to be talking about keep him in front. Keep him in front. Now, why you laugh at me?
Because
Why you do that?
yeah, I'm gonna call him out. Y'all know, y'all seen that he almost had a brain fart. He's like, so we're gonna talk about what we about to talk
Well,
about.
I was going with because of the way it segued. I was getting ready to say keeping, and I didn't want to say keeping, and I'm like, keeping, should it be keeping? Nah, I'm gonna just say keep because keep works. So keep
That-
him in front. I didn't catch no brain for it. Stop that. Why you
that's
trying to?
that's what happens when you get over a certain age. Your
Oh
brain starts working
wow,
differently, and you be like,
wow.
"What's I about to say?" He had one of those moments. I'm gonna let you
No,
slide.
my gosh.
Y'all know we gotta keep it funny. We gotta keep it
Listen,
funny.
you
But
got to
let's
keep
let's
your
let's
you
just definitely
get your life together. That's what I'm trying to
let's.
tell you. Get your life together. I know what keep is and keep in. Anyway, keep him in front. Look at you. Better hope I keep you in front. If I put you behind somewhere.
Listen here. I'm a sock you in the back of your knee.
Oh,
Listen, go ahead and put
hey,
me
listen,
behind you.
listen. Let me try to tell you
Might
something.
clip
Listen,
you from behind.
I've been going to the gym, getting my physical therapy in. Knees are strong. You understand? You hit me in the back of the knees now, you might hurt your hand.
I ain't studying him.
You might hurt your hand a little bit. But
I
anyway,
ain't studying. Let's get into this
let's get
episode.
into it. Keep him in front. Keep him in front. So this came to me sometime last week, and I was like, man, that is so interesting. Here's how this story came about. So I was in the gym, and as I was exiting, this guy was talking about how he doesn't understand how any man would want to sit somewhere with his back to an opening.
Mhm.
And what he said was, he says, man, this is
Okay.
crazy to me. And so the short of it is, he was like, if you have your back to an opening, how can you
Mm-hmm.
see if there's a threat coming from behind you? And it struck me, and I said, oh, wow.
Good.
You wouldn't be able to see that threat coming from behind you. He says, man, we're sitting here right now. And he says, I don't even like it because my back's to the opening. He says, if somebody comes up here with a gun, I'm the last person to know. I
Wow.
have no idea that a threat is even imminent. And so, that's a problem for me. He said, so I'm always facing, I try to always make sure I face the door. And so that put in my mind talking about keep him in front. So we're going to dive into that today and try to unpack what does that actually mean
Yeah,
spiritually, how to relate that to what
yeah,
the things that we may be going through, stuff like that. So
yeah.
I want to start here. What I want to ask the question, what or why is keeping him in front important? Now, oh, before we get there though, before we get there, now I gotta start somewhere else first, and I got ahead of myself. Who is him that we want to keep in front? That's the question I want to ask you. Who are we talking about?
It's only one person. It's only one Almighty that we gonna keep in front. And that's God. We gotta keep him in front. That's
Okay.
that's that's the only thing I can say. I don't know who else I'm gonna keep in front.
Ah,
I mean, I'm walking. I try to keep my kids in front of me so I can watch them. But
right,
I mean, they don't pay my bills.
right,
they don't. They don't provide. They're not the source of my supply. So
right.
I'm saying it's got to be God we talking about.
Gotta, gotta be him, right?
Gotta be
So
him.
I'm like, gotta be him. So when I thought about that, I said, man, but how do you, excuse me, how do you go into the context of that, saying keep him in front? But we know who we talking about. We got to be talking about God. Who else would we keep in front? But then I thought about it. I'm like, but it's got to be something more to that because the if the threat is behind me, I definitely
Mm,
don't want that threat to remain behind me. But again, before we get too far ahead, I want to talk about the importance of keeping him in front and to just bring it into full context. What we're talking about when we talk about him in this context, we're talking about our enemy. We're talking about our enemy, keeping the enemy in front. That is
mm,
who we're talking about. Now, you may be saying to yourself, now, why in the world would we want to do that? That's not what Jesus said when he talked to Peter over in Matthew. So let's go there real quick. Matthew chapter 16, verse 22 and 23. Now, this is when Christ is talking to Peter about how he's got to go away. He's getting ready to be crucified. He's got to die. He's talking about all these things. And
right.
this is where we pick up the story. Then Peter, Matthew 16:22. Then Peter took him
Mm,
aside and began to rebuke him, saying, far be it from you, Lord, this shall
mm,
not happen to you. But he, talking about Christ, he turned and said to Peter, get behind me, Satan. You are an offense to me, for
wow.
you are not mindful of the things of God, but the things of man.
And
You see that? So you look at that and you go, Christ didn't tell him to stay in front. He told Satan to get behind him.
indeed.
Um, and so here's the thing though, as he's talking to Peter, he's talking to Peter, but the comment or the authority to move behind him is being directed at the spirit in which Peter is responding to him in. Peter
Yeah.
is obviously responding to him in a spirit of fear. He is
Yeah.
responding him to a spirit of distraction, trying to pull him from his mission. And
Uh-huh.
so and so now it's like, do we do is that keeping him in front? Here's the thing. Because Christ said what he said, it presented an opportunity for the enemy to come at him full front assault. You see? And so at that point, once he recognized the enemy in front of him, then he was able to direct him where he wanted him to be. It's
Oh.
so important to
Ooh.
know how you want to maneuver when you know where
Mm,
your enemy's coming from.
yeah, that's good.
You see that?
That's
And
good.
it's so crazy. What are your thoughts on that? What do you think?
So initially when you had brought it to me, and that's why I wanted to say God, because most people are like, I'm gonna keep God in front because I'm gonna keep God in front. But no, we gotta keep the enemy in front of us. Now, yes, we sing the songs, got the devil under my feet, get thee
Hmm.
behind me, Satan. We sing those songs, but you really want to see him. You want to be
Yeah.
ready for any attack. So, in order to know what's going to happen, you got to keep him in front.
Hmm.
You got to keep him in front to know, all right, what's your play? What's your move? That's just like I'm trying to think. Um, I guess you can kind of say with football, if I could use that as an example,
Yeah.
when they go on the field and they're down in their positions, they got the enemy in front of them. They
Hmm.
don't have the team on the opposite side of them. they have the team in front of them. So it would be best to keep the enemy in front so you can kind
Mm,
of see. Now, are you going to visually see? Are you going to naturally see?
right.
No, but in the spirit, you'll begin to sense some things. Spiritually, you'll be able to discern some things. And a lot of the times, depending on where we are, we can kind
Yeah.
of see certain things and know, wait, mm,
With that.
this is a
Yeah.
little off, or we can kind of sense some things. But if it's behind us, we can feel it, but it's kind of like we still gonna have to turn around and face it, front on to know what is actually uh going on with whatever the situation is.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what I would say for me.
Yeah. Exactly. Exactly. And I would agree with you in that same context as we're dealing with that. And so I think the importance of it is to ensure that when the enemy, when we have our enemy in front of us, um, we don't allow him to get behind us to allow any kind of distractions, any kind of sneak attacks, any kind of things that will pull us away from moving forward. You see what I'm saying? Because if I got him in front of me, I know number one how to attack him because
Mhm.
I can see you coming, and I know how to block any attacks that are coming. You know what I'm saying? It talks about putting on the full armor of God,
Right.
and talks and a portion in there talks about the shield of faith, where you can quench the fiery darts of the enemy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, but the darts can come from behind, but you definitely want them bad boys in front of you so you know how to defend yourself. You know
Yep.
what I'm saying? If them
Yep.
bad boys are coming from up top, or if they're coming straight on from the head, either way you look at it, how are you defending yourself against the frontal assault? Because there are times where the enemy is behind you and there's
Yeah.
so much stuff going on behind the scenes. You got to figure out, okay, how do I now instead of me facing forward, now I got to spin around to figure out what in the world is going on
Going
behind
on
me.
behind me. Yep.
You see what I'm saying? Now I done stopped forward progress just to turn around and deal with the distractions that are behind me. So now you may ask yourself the question, how do I keep him in front? How do I keep him in front? The way you keep him in front is by allowing yourself to be in a position to consistently move forward. You see what I'm
Uh-huh.
saying? If you are in a position to consistently move forward and you're not in a place where you are held back by the distractions, he has no choice then
Uh-huh.
to come in front. He has no choice. He's
Right.
got to figure out another way to distract you. He's got to figure out another way to stop your forward progress.
Yep.
So that is the best way that you can keep him in front. Because if not, every time something go down and you stop and he impedes your progress by just
Mm-hmm.
doing stuff from behind you or throwing up stuff and doing this stuff, and you got to stop and turn to your left, turn to your right, see, figure out what's going on behind me, this, that, and the other. You got to stop and pick somebody else up.
Yep.
Hmm. You
It's
got to
slowing
pick
your
up somebody.
progression.
You
Mm-hmm.
know what I'm saying? You carrying around some dead weight. You
Yep.
carrying around some things. And it's like, man, all of this stuff. And now my focus is all over the place instead of where it needs to be.
Right.
So once he recognizes that he can't get you to spin around or come off course, then he's going to remain in front and he's got to figure out a way to divert your focus to
Yeah.
something else. And now he wants that attention. It's like
Mm-hmm.
all of this stuff is going on, he's still praising. All this stuff is going on, he's still praying. All this
Right.
stuff is going on, he's still lifting his voice, he's still honoring God, he's still doing all of the good stuff. How do
Right.
I do it? I gotta find some way to obstruct his view or to put an obstacle in front of him, whatever the case may be. Put a hurdle in his way. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So it's crazy. Now, here's the thing. We gotta, now that we done said all of that, we also gotta be in a position to remember the importance of not looking back.
Ooh, not going back. I'm moving ahead. Here to declare to
That's
you.
it.
That's
That's it.
hey, that's when you said that. I thought about that song. That's the one.
That, that one hit right there. That one hit. The importance of not looking back. Now,
Yeah.
here's where that took me to. Let me take you over to Genesis real quick. Genesis chapter 19. And this is a story about Lot and his wife. Lot was
Ooh.
Abraham's nephew, and
Aha.
they were in the Sodom and Gomorrah. You
Mm-hmm.
can read the story for yourself, but I want to go ahead and capture something real quick. So Genesis 19, starting at verse 17, I want you to see this, and then we're going to jump to 26. But here's what 17 says. It says, when they were safely out of the city, one of the angels ordered, run for your lives and don't look back or stop anywhere in the valley. Escape to the mountains, or you will be swept away. Another version says,
Uh,
or you will be consumed. That's verse 17. Let's go to 26. Now check this what it says. It says, but Lot's wife looked back as she was following behind him, talking about Lot, and she turned into a pillar of salt. When the first time that I read this many years ago, I said to myself, I said, of all the things to turn into, why a pillar of
pillar
salt?
of
Just
salt.
because she looked back. I didn't understand the consequence and the punishment behind it. Now, that's a whole nother theological teaching in and of itself, but we're not going to get into that. We're
Mm-hmm.
talking about right now the importance of not looking back. So let me start here by asking you the question, sis. How do you gauge that? What do you think the importance is of not looking back? Now that we know we got to keep him in front,
Right.
what is the importance of not looking back?
Yeah, when you look back, you get distracted. You
Mm,
get distracted from what you're supposed to be pressing towards. If
okay.
I am supposed to be moving forward with this, with whatever assignment the Lord has for me, why am I looking back at something that he told me, hey, look, you coming out of this, I need you to move forward. There's
Hmm.
something back there that you no longer need to be a part of. I need you to move forward. Why am I going to keep going back into a place that God is calling me out of? Because
Yeah.
that place was destructive. That place was hurt. That place was insecurity. That place was depression. Why am I going
Mm,
to look back at that situation? And God is calling me to healing, prosperity, whatever the case is. Why am I going to keep looking back? Some
right.
people
Wow.
still look back and wonder why they can't really progress moving forward because you haven't let that thing go, and God's like, look, you gotta let
Wow.
it go and keep going.
Hmm.
But that's for me when you say, when you talk about looking back, that's what I not looking back, that's what I think of, because what's behind me, that's over and done with. I gotta press towards the mark.
Wow.
I gotta
Wow.
move forward.
And I like the way you said that. And that's exactly what I thought about too. Like, man, there's so much that I left behind that I don't necessarily want to, I don't want to revisit. I don't want to look
Right.
back at it. And this is what the angel was telling Lot's wife, like, look, this city is getting ready to be utterly destroyed, right?
Mm-hmm.
Fire and brimstone is coming from heaven to destroy the city. This city is not going to stand. Take nothing but your life. In fact, he
Mm-hmm.
says it, run for your lives, right? That's the thing that you need to save, not anything that's back there. You don't need to save
Right.
anything that's back there because everything that's back there is about to be destroyed. Now,
Right.
but here's the other side of it though, because I can feel some other people are like, but wait a minute, doesn't the song go, when I look back over my life and I think things over? When I look back over my life and I think things over, aren't we supposed to look back? Now, understand there are moments where you need to remember. You
Yeah.
see what I'm saying? Remember what God has done for you. When
Yeah.
God brought his people out of Egypt, he told
Yeah.
them, hey, when you get to this place where you are in homes you didn't build, you have vineyards you didn't plant, so
Right.
forth and so on. When you have that, he says, remember me. And then he goes into detail. Remember, I brought you out of Egypt. I brought you through the Red Sea. I gave you manna from heaven. I turned bitter water into sweet water. He's like, remember these things so you don't forget that I'm the one that brought you through.
Right.
That's different in the context of not looking back, meaning not looking back on the tragedy, the trauma, things that are going to impede your progress and keep you stuck. Things that when you think on it, it like causes something in your heart to where you're back to that place of depression again.
Right.
You know what I mean? You're back to that place of anxiety because you thought on what was. You're
Right.
back to that place of uncertainty and doubt or low self
Yep.
esteem. Like there's
Yep.
so much stuff that you left behind. And
Right.
because you're allowing the enemy to cause you to look back, now you end up in a position like Lot's wife. You know, she didn't go on to be with her family. She was
Nope.
turned into a pillar of salt.
Stop right
And,
there.
and you know, as a memorial, again, that's a teaching for another day. But the point is, not looking back is just as important as keeping God in front. At the same token, it's different than remembering what God has done for you. Now,
Hmm.
you may say, six dozen, half a dozen, or whatever. It's like the same thing, but
Right.
really, excuse me, it's about the perspective.
Yeah.
It's about the perspective. If you are looking back, let's go with there's some sort of trauma in your life um happen, whatever that trauma may be. I don't want to call
Right.
anything out. Whatever that
Right.
trauma may be, maybe you're using that trauma to do one of two things. If you are looking back on it and it is impeding progress, it is leaving you stuck, then that's something you don't need to look back on. But
Right.
if you say, I can look back on this trauma and know that I'm stronger for it, I thank
Mm.
God that He brought me out of that.
There you go.
Because of everything that was going on in that situation, He
Yeah.
was able to find me. I was able to find Him. I called out to
Right.
Him and He answered, so forth and so on. So, what
Right.
is the perspective? Are you looking back to stay there? Or are you remembering what God has done for you? And now hey, listen, let me go on and pull you in front and tell you, no more will you allow me to look back. No more will you
Hmm.
allow me to turn around. No more will you allow me to stay stuck in that place,
Yeah.
keeping him in front and saying, you know what? I see you coming. I see your tactics. I see your devices. I see the
There
things
you
that you're
go.
trying to do to trip me up. You see what I'm saying? That's what the
Yep.
word tells us, right? Tells us to be aware of Satan's devices, right? Don't be
Mhm.
ignorant of them. Don't be
Nope.
ignorant of the ways.
Especially not now. Especially not now. Because they coming in all different shapes, sizes, and colors. Just
All
saying.
of these things, right? There's so many things and ways that he's doing it. And it's like, I was thinking about this the other day. I'm like, um, we have, everybody, I would say, has family members that have dealt with some form of addiction or trauma. I keep talking about
Right.
trauma, but they've dealt with those type of things, right? And then I thought about it. There was this one particular one. It's like, drug addiction. And I'm thinking about it and I'm like, how in the world do you get caught up in that again and again and again? And then, the Lord showed me and made and reminded me of some of the things that I was going through. And he said, remember, every addiction is not created equal for
Right.
everybody, right? Everyone has their vice. So for that person, that their vice was alcohol, but your vice was very different, and the enemy tripped you in it every
Yep.
single time. You kept
Yep.
falling for it every
Yep. Every
single
single
time.
time. You kept looking
You
back.
you kept looking back on it, and every time you thought you were getting progress, he hooked you, and you
Yep.
had to look back and go, "What in the world has got me?" And as soon as you put your eyes on it, you like a pillar of salt, stuck and can't move,
Yep. Yep.
stuck and can't move.
It's so funny you say that because a lot of times, and I think this is um where God shifted my perspective because I was one of the ones that's like, why are they still stuck in this? Like, because
Right,
it wasn't a weakness of mine. Because
right.
it wasn't a weakness of mine, I couldn't understand. I'm like, yo, if you just avoid this, avoid that, this, da, 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 da.
It
But
sounds so
then,
simple.
right. But
Yeah,
then I had my own as they would call it, or situation, or my own stronghold that I couldn't
right.
break. And it was like
So good.
somebody else, maybe somebody older would be like, you need to break from this, you need to this. And I'm like, you don't understand. So I had
Yeah,
to go through that to become more understanding
right.
to why some people are, because it's a heavy spirit, and it's a heavy demonic spirit that some people are dealing with. And
Mm-hmm.
until they first of all recognize that there's a problem,
Right.
get the help needed to deal with that, they're going to keep going through the cycles of, man, I don't want to do this no more, I don't want to, I'm
Mm-hmm.
tired of it. And sometimes I kind of think like, and this isn't nothing that I've seen, it's just me. It's kind of almost like when you're in, I can't remember the movie, but it's like you're stuck in something, and after a while
Hmm.
you start coming to, and it's like, whoa, I don't want to do this no more. But it's like the enemy's like, ah, come on,
Hmm.
let's keep. So it's holding you captive.
It's like
But
it's got
when
you in a trance or something.
right, that's
Yeah.
the movie Percy. What's his Perseus? Um,
Percy Jackson.
yes, when they went into that, they went to Laws, and they was in like the
The
Lotus.
the lotus flower. Yeah, they were eating the lotus
Yeah,
flower and in the
yeah,
hotel. Yeah, yeah. And
and
they
they
were
just
warned
get
about it.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and then they got into this trance, and then one of Percy's woke up was like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, whoa! How did I get this far in this?" You know what I'm saying? And that's how
Yeah.
it can be. So
Hmm.
we have to not look back. Don't keep looking back because the enemy he'll sometimes dress it up different, but it'll come with the same agenda. So we have to be mindful. But I say all that to say this. I am now sensitive to people that struggle with addictions, whatever the addiction
Right.
is, whether it is pornography, whether it is sexual, whether it is alcoholism, or whether it is just social media.
Right.
Um, I can identify that, wow, they are dealing with a heavy spirit that they're not even recognizing. The enemy just got you dangling like this. He's just like this, holding the strings, and you
Hmm.
are just like in zombie land, like, and he's just like, okay, you my puppet. So we gotta pray. We
Yeah.
gotta pray. Because if we're not aware, if even me, myself, I can talk about it all day, but if I don't pay attention and see the signs in front of me, the warnings that God is sending me, I could get caught up too.
Right. Man, that's so good. That's so
Mhm.
good. And I think that's something that goes, it can sometimes go unrecognized, especially in the Christian community. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
it's like we overlook the fact that other people are struggling and make it seem like we've never struggled before, and it make it
Man.
seem like their struggle, the thing that they're looking back on, the thing that the enemy keeps them coming back to, because that's what was going on with Lot. It's, you know what I'm saying, there's a theory, no one knows her intention for looking back, but the theory is that she looked back because she
Back.
was wondering what she was missing, or she wanted to go back to that place of comfort, that place that was actually her home. You know what I'm saying? It's like that familiar place. That's
Mm-hmm.
what she's looking back on. And this is what happens when you're caught up in addiction. You look back on what's familiar, or something's in front of you that becomes hard or difficult or challenging, and now you got to fall back on what's comfortable, what's familiar, put you back in that good place, and you feel happy again. And it has you looking back on that. And some people look at that and they, like you just said, you said it already, that they look at other people's addictions and they go, man, they should be able to get over that. That should be easy. Well, wait a
Mm-mm.
minute. Everybody's dealing with some kind of vice. Everyone has sinned and fallen short of the glory of God.
Amen.
No one is in a position where they are perfect or have been perfect ever.
Nope. Nope.
There's only
Nope.
but
Nope.
one. There's
Only
only but
one.
one, right?
Only one.
And so when we say that, we look at that and we got to remember, everyone has something going on. So yeah, we're not saying we're condoning. We're not condoning the behavior, but we are empathetic to it, because now I got to look in within myself. What have I dealt with? What was the
Right.
thing that kept pulling me back? As
Yep.
Tyrese would say, every time I try to go, something keep pulling
Keep
me
pulling
back.
me back, me back, me back. We back.
Oh, was that Chingy?
That
Yeah,
was
yeah,
Chinky
yeah.
and Tyrese.
Tyrese and Chingy.
Y'all
Like, it
know we
keep pulling
wasn't
me back.
saved our whole lives, all right? So don't play. Y'all know y'all was singing the lyrics with us, so don't play like y'all was saved your
don't,
whole lives,
don't act
okay?
like you don't know. I'm just trying
Right.
to relate it. I'm just trying to relate it. But yeah, I like the way you just said that. And then you're absolutely right. And I think that's so vital that we remind people, like, yo, we it looks like we've gotten it together, and glory be to God that He's allowed us to be in a
Right.
position where we were able to move forward. We recognize the enemy behind us. We put him in front and said, you know what? You about to catch this beat down. Let me go ahead and give you these hands real quick
Let me
and
hit
get
you with
you up
these
under my
holy
feet. So
hands.
when I move forward, you know what I'm saying? When I move
Right.
forward, I know that I've defeated you. Now it's how they say, you won the battle, but it's not you didn't win the war. You know what I'm saying? That the
Right.
attacks are not going to stop
Nope.
until Christ comes back. There's going to be a consistent spiritual war.
Yep.
It's going to be consistent. So it's not a matter of if he shows up. It's a matter of
It's
when he shows
when
up.
you gotta be
So
ready.
when he does, where you see what I'm saying? When he does, be ready, and and
Ready.
acknowledge that if there's something behind that's trying to keep you distracted, pull you away, pull you down, you know, put homeboy in front, put him in front to figure out how
Hmm.
to defeat him. How is he trying to defeat you? What weapons is he using to defeat you and take you
Yep.
down or take you out? That type of thing. So when we say keep him in front, this is exactly what we're talking about. And so the third and last point I want to try to make is, so if we are keeping him in front, then where does that leave God? Because I've been told
Hmm.
and I've been taught to keep God first, to keep God in front of me, to
Yeah.
put my hand in his hand. So
Yep.
my in this instance of, when we're dealing with something that we're trying to overcome
Hmm.
and we got to bring the enemy to the forefront. Now it's not just keeping God in front, it's lifting him up.
Yeah.
So I keep the enemy in front, but I keep him lifted up. I keep him seated in a place where he is above everything. He
Yep.
is King of Kings and Lord of Lords. He is above my situation. I magnify him above every circumstance. And he is the ultimate uh, sovereign ruler,
Hmm.
master of the universe, all of
Yep.
those things. So
Yep.
what do you how do you, what do you think, is that accurate to say? Would you be accurate to say that if I'm and this is situational, this is not all the time. There's going to be times where you ain't even being bothered, right? The enemy
Hmm.
is what it is, and then the world is going to be what the world's going to be, and there's times
Yep.
where we're going to put God in front, but there's some situational things that may show up that I
Yep.
think that we recognize. Okay, the enemy is for sure in this situation.
Yep.
I'm gonna go ahead and put a finger on it. But keeping God lifted up, what else would you say that looks like?
And to be honest, I was trying to process something else to say because
Oh man, I made you lose your
you
thought.
literally
Dang it.
took the words I was gonna say. So I was
Uh,
like, what else can I say other than keep him lifted? Keep him as your source.
that's really good.
Keep him as your source of everything, and know that God is the main one. No matter what the enemy come at you with, God is the main one. He's the only one that's gonna see you through any situation. Keep that prayer life up. I'm telling you, I never believed it until we started getting into the um years of 2020, and it's like the further the years go, the more we have to really stay in God's presence. Like, even on today, I was attacked with something wrong, and I was
Hmm.
like, up, 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 and I started becoming angry, and I
Hmm.
started to get upset and see the enemy, because I woke up in good spirit this morning. I went
Oh,
to bed
okay.
early. I woke up in good spirit. And the first thing I get is an email that seemed like it was attacking me. Because the first thing he
Oh.
said, oh, they always sending you something that you did wrong. It's always something you did wrong. And I was like, ba 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 ba. I'm not
Mm.
loving it. I was like, no, 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 no. I said, this is not an attack. This is just merely an educational piece, letting you know, per future references, if this should happen, this is what needs to happen. I said,
Yeah,
devil, you get no glory today. I see you. I
I
see what
see
you're
you.
doing, but you're
Hmm.
not about to ruin my day. This is not going to interrupt my peace and sabotage my day. Then another email
Wow.
came. I said, you are really trying me, but you are defeated. I see
Wow.
you. And had I let that communication come in and open up that portal for anger, my day would have went south. I would have been angry. My attitude would have been jacked up. Why? Because an email came in. I took it the wrong way. I didn't shift my perspective and take it as a learning piece. The enemy
Mm.
wanted to use that to target my emotions to cause me to have a bad day. but I had
Wow.
God first, and I was like, whoa, 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 whoa. Let me kill this flesh right now. I see you. I
I see you.
see you. Let me kill this right now. So yeah, that's just my spirit.
Wow. That's
Yeah.
so good. That's so good. And I mean, as you're talking to that, you're literally diving in and you're reiterating the point of recognizing the enemy when he shows up and
Yep.
not allowing him to make you turn back or look back on, what was. You see, because back in the day, had you come at me like that, this is my reaction. My
Yep.
reaction is head snapping and finger running and neck rolling and all of that. And that's who I was. See, I'm looking back on it and going, that's who I used to be. And
Right.
see, we say stuff like, don't let me go back to my old ways.
Yeah. Don't let me go back to I used to be, and
Don't let me go
that's
back to how I used to
right.
be.
We got to
Yeah.
come out of, I think we got to come out of that mindset. And I think, and I thought about this too. A
Hmm.
lot of times we say that, um, because we got to realize when we are proclaiming Christ and we are children and we belong to him, we are going to be, look at what they did to Jesus. They mocked him, picked on him, they crucified him. And who are we? We're going to have to go through the same things.
Same stuff.
We're gonna have to go through the same things, but we have to learn to develop Jesus. I'll say Jesus skin, not tough skin, but Jesus skin. We have to learn
Yeah.
that we can't go back into those old ways. Now I'm gonna say this because we was talking about this
Okay.
the other day in my church. Jesus turned some tables.
Okay.
He
Okay.
he dealt with
Hmm.
people. Now I'm not saying just be so ignorant and so naive that you let people just handle you any type of way. But you
Right.
don't have to prove to people that you just that bad because you feel in your flesh. I gotta show you. There's a certain place in time where God gonna say, let it rain.
Right.
Go ahead
Right.
and handle your
There,
business. But
there,
he's gonna allow you to do it where you don't have to use vulgar language
hmm
or use such harsh actions, and it takes you
hmm
out of who you are in Christ. You know what I mean? If
Man,
that makes
so
sense what
good.
I'm saying. So
Yeah,
yeah, that's it.
two things. No, you said it right. And as we're talking about anger, two things came to my mind. The first thing you talk about flipping tables, that was out of a righteous anger. Why was he angry? Why did he do that? He says, "My house is supposed to be a house of prayer, but you've turned it into a den of thieves." And so he ended up flipping tables because it's like y'all in here. This is supposed to be a prayer
Mm-hmm.
spot. This is supposed to be the house of God, and y'all in
Mm-hmm.
here exchanging money and doing all of this tax collection type
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Like, what is this? And then the word also tells us, is like, hey, be ye angry, but sin not.
Yeah.
Be
Yeah.
ye angry. So it's not that your emotion is wrong. It's when we act
How you
on that
respond.
emotion.
Yeah.
You
Yep.
see what I'm saying? So, God recognized he gave us these emotions for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
But then he brought us his son to help us understand
Right.
how to manage those emotions, how to
Yep.
manage those feelings and put things into perspective, like you were talking about earlier with the emails, putting things into perspective and recognizing I'm not going to allow my flesh to win. Enemy, you're
Yep.
not going to come in and turn my flesh in on myself to where now I become that old person
Yep.
looking back on my old life. No, I'm not going to do that.
Nope.
It's too important to me not to turn
Mm-hmm.
around. It's too important to me to continue to keep moving forward, put things into the right perspective, have the right lenses on so I can see things correctly and I can
Right.
see you correctly. I can see you for who you really are. You're coming, and this is a completely different thing, but you come in as an angel of light when in fact I know who you are. You
Right.
can't deceive me. And so, but that what had nothing to do with the email. But the point is that he's deceptive and manipulative, and when we can
Ooh.
recognize that,
Mm. Mm.
go ahead and speak on it.
Man, I think we're gonna have to do part two. We might have to change it. I don't know, but yeah, we might need to discuss because I think we need to do a podcast where we talk about just recognizing maybe just a spin-off
Mm,
of this. So now
mm,
that we have the enemy in front, y'all getting a snippet. I'm gonna give y'all this. This is the exclusive. Now that we have the enemy in front,
mm,
I think we can go into part. We might have to do a part two. Now we have the enemy in front. How do we recognize him? Because that's where I was going. How do we recognize it? How do we know it's the enemy?
Enemy.
He's going to trip you up. First of all,
Mm,
you got to know that everything, I always tell people this, everything is not from God. Everything is not from God.
not everything.
Come on. He going to try to
Mm-mm.
set you up.
Mm-hmm.
He going to try to set you up. Just
Wow.
because he like, yo, I know you want to be the richest. What profit a man that gain the whole world and lose his
And
soul?
lose his soul.
I gotta get out
Mm,
of this because this needs to be a part two. But yes,
man.
we gotta recognize that little booger. We gotta recognize him
Huh.
and his
So
little
good.
imps and every other demonic thing that comes. We gotta know what he
What does
looks
that look
like.
like? How do I know if it's me, if it's him, or if it's God just taking his hands off and saying, you know what? I need to test you right here. How do I know? What is the
Mm,
recognition? What is the discernment of that whole thing? So yeah, yeah. So hey,
it's
listen,
gonna be a
this
part two.
this is on the spot. This is gonna be a part two. We got to do it. We got to do it. And the reason why we got to do it is because we've come to the end of this episode.
Yeah, we have. We love y'all, but we gotta go to sleep.
We've
We
come
gotta
to the
wake
end of
up.
this episode, man. So keep him in front, man. This one was so good. I'm so glad we were able to come together and
Yeah,
collab on this one and talk some more about it and
absolutely.
unpack all of that information and to encourage the people out there to understand, like, listen, God is still in control. Yet the enemy runs rampant, right? He runs around this earth roaring like a lion, seeking those
Ah,
that he may devour. But we got to know, and we're going to get into this in hopefully the next episode on how to recognize and what does that look like. Now that I've got him in front, what do I do? How
right.
do I know what is what, which is which, so forth and so on. So man,
Yes.
um, sis, thank you so much for
Thank you.
being part of this. This has been always fun, always a pleasure to be
Yeah.
able to go into the word and just talk and have some fun
Yeah,
on the
man.
podcast. This is always good. So,
That's what
but
the
man, we're
world
gonna get up out of
needs.
here. We're
Yes.
gonna get up out of here, man. So love you guys so much. Thank you so much for your support. We hope you guys come back and join us again next time here on Kingdom Corner Podcast, where we talk about God, family, and other stuff. Till next time.